And that's one of the reasons that gold is $4,200 an ounce. And, if it keeps up this pace, it'll be at 5,000 before Thanksgiving and over 6,000 by Christmas. Yeah. I think gold surging like this every day, going up. This is the best year for gold since the 1970s. This is not a coincidence. You know what happened in the 70s. And so I think this is a warning sign. The real crisis could hit next year when we see a big collapse in the dollar against other fiat currencies and a big break in the bond market, meaning much higher interest rates at a time where our debts are exploding.
Everything's out of control. And then you look and they go, hey, inflation's at 6% or whatever. And foods, except for food, shelter and fuel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what in the world? How do we figure out what actual inflation is? Have you ever thought about this, Peter?
The government creates inflation. It nurtures it. The inflation is the government's baby. I mean, it's their silent partner. But the government never wants to come out and tell the public that it's causing inflation, because obviously the consequence of inflation is that prices go up, and the public doesn't like that. But government creates inflation. The definition of inflation is an expansion of the money supply and credit. Who expands money and credit? The government does that. So the government creates inflation. The result is prices go up. But why do they create inflation? Because they don't want to raise taxes to pay for all the deficits, so they print the money. And the public doesn't realize that they're paying the cost. But instead of paying it in taxes, they're paying it through higher prices, through inflation. Plus, also, inflation makes everybody think they're richer, right? The numbers, look at the stock market today. Everybody is talking about the record high stock market. The stock market in 1999 was worth 45, the Dow was worth 45 ounces of gold. Today it's worth 11. So the stock market in 26 years priced in real money, because once upon a time when you bought the Dow, like if you bought the Dow in 1920, you paid with gold dollars, you paid with real money. But so measured in real money, the Dow Jones has dropped 75% in 26 years. But, the people don't realize that because they're measuring the Dow with inflated dollars. And that's why it's, 46,000.
The government causes, I totally get it, but they're colluding.
Well, of course.
They're colluding.
But now Trump wants to make it worse, because Trump wants to completely control the Fed from the Oval Office. He basically, he's stacking it with his people the way Roosevelt stacked the Supreme Court in the 1930s. Trump is stacking the Fed. And that's one of the reasons that gold is $4,200 an ounce. If it keeps up this pace, it'll be at 5,000 before Thanksgiving and over 6,000 by Christmas. But the thing they have to recognize, what people have to recognize is, yes, you could be a billionaire today, but if you have your billion in U.S. Treasuries, you could be broke tomorrow. So what's key is where it's like, where am I going to put my assets to preserve their value? Not necessarily looking for the best new thing, but looking for a way to protect yourself from the dollar debasement, from inflation. That's what people should be focused on. I just think, though, that, and you guys, could just watch out for this over the next several weeks, couple of months. But, I think what happened on Friday, late in the day with the tokens and Bitcoin, I don't know if that was a one-off thing just related to Trump's post. That could be just a dress rehearsal for what's about to happen in crypto. It's possible that gold is pricking that bubble. And I think the risk is high right now of a major crash in that market. I mean, probably higher than I think the risk has been since I can recall, that the bottom could just drop out of this market. You have so many people, so bullish, so long, so leveraged, thinking nothing can go wrong. And to me, it looks like it's an accident waiting to happen.
Well, that leverage got flushed on Friday.
I don't think the leverage is anywhere near flushed. Yeah. I think this is really kind of a put up or shut up moment for Bitcoin, because, for years it's been hyped up as digital gold, as a hedge against dollar debasement, inflation. And Bitcoin is now in a pretty big bear market, priced in gold. It's down more than 25% as we speak from where it was in August. And so gold is making record highs. Silver is breaking out to record highs. The world is de-dollarizing. Massive deficits as far as the eye can see. Fed cutting rates and the rising inflation. All this is very negative for the dollar. And central banks are getting out of dollars, but they're buying gold. Bigger investors are now starting to look for hedges, and they're buying gold. And what's Bitcoin? I mean, if Bitcoin is not a store of value, if it's not a safe haven, if it's just a tech stock, well, what kind of tech stock is it when it has, not only does it have no earnings, because there's some tech stocks that also don't have earnings, but it has no prospect of ever having earnings. At least when you buy a tech stock, you're betting on the potential for future earnings. Bitcoin has no potential to earn anything. So yeah, I mean, 1.2, or actually 2 points on digitized gold. The good thing about it is it's actually still gold. It represents ownership of real gold. And what digital gold does is it improves on the monetary properties of gold. It makes it more fungible, more portable, and better to use as a medium of exchange, right? So that's what
You're
Bitcoin
talking about
was trying
actual
to do.
tokenized gold and not the nickname of Bitcoin as
Right.
digital
I'm talking
gold,
about
right?
real
Yeah,
gold that
actual
you
token
own,
gold.
but you own it through a token that you can exchange with other people. But yeah, I get it that the Trump family has taken a big stake in Bitcoin. That's another problem I have with the Trump administration. But, you know, I think that the biggest consensus trade right now, where you have the most can't lose, only can go up attitude, is in Bitcoin for the reasons that James just mentioned. It seems like everything has gone right. There's nothing that can possibly go wrong. And that's when the market goes in the other direction. And I would say that given all that Bitcoin has going for it, as far as hype and the politics behind it, with all that, why isn't it going up now? Why is it going down? Why is it collapsing? I think that's a warning sign that the bottom's about to drop out of this. You know, Bitcoin and gold going up for, I think, different reasons. But, you know, I was just listening to Scott Bessett was interviewed just before we started talking, and he was asked about the rise in gold and if he's concerned about it. And he completely brushed it off and says, there's nothing to worry about.
Peter, do you like gold? Are you interested?
Well, of course, but let me finish my point here. But Scott Bessett basically, no, we don't. It's not a warning sign. Everything is great. We're cutting government spending. The U.S. economy is great. Inflation is gone. So gold's going up for reasons having nothing to do with inflation or loss of confidence in the U.S. I mean, completely delusional. And then he went on to praise Alan Greenspan as the maestro, as a great Fed chairman, without even realizing that Alan Greenspan is the main reason we had the 2008 financial crisis. It was his reckless monetary policy that fueled that housing bubble and the mortgage finance bubble. And yet he doesn't even get that, because he wants the Federal Reserve to do the same thing that Greenspan did. He wants rate cuts and more money printing. And he has no idea that the crisis that's coming is going to be much worse than the financial crisis that the Fed helped create before. This is going to be a sovereign debt and a U.S. dollar crisis. And I think what's happening in gold right now is very reminiscent of what happened in subprime in 2007, which really was, you know, foretold the 08 crisis. And when that warning bell went off, nobody believed it. Nobody on Wall Street, nobody at the Fed. Ben Bernanke said, don't worry about subprime. It's contained. And I was saying, nope, this is the tip of an iceberg. Get ready for a major financial crisis. And it hit the following year. I think gold surging like this every day, going up. This is the best year for gold since the 1970s.